Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. So we're gonna do the Q&A, and I felt like it was probably time I did like a face cam thing, just to make it a little bit more personal. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the questions, and I'll get those answered for you. First up, we have Michael Coffey asking 3 questions, first of which, what was your first race and class character in Guild Wars 2 you made? Now, the first character I made was a Char, and the reason I made a Char was because in Guild Wars 1, the Char were awesome, but you couldn't play as them. If you guys don't know, you could only play humans in Guild Wars 1, so of the new races, I think Char was the most appealing, and in Guild Wars 1, I really enjoyed the Warrior class, so I just started with that. And it ended up working out pretty well, because as a lot of you guys might know, Warrior's a pretty good class for starting out. Secondly, he asks, at this point in the life cycle of Guild Wars 2, would you rather see ArenaNet announce an upcoming expansion, or the announcement of a proper Guild Wars 3? Now, this is a great question, because this has been on my mind a lot lately, actually. I'm not entirely sure which I would prefer. I would always like a new expansion for Guild Wars 2. If you guys haven't noticed from my couple previous videos, there are some things that I'd like to change in Guild Wars 2, and maybe a proper Guild Wars 3 is the way to go. I think ultimately what I'd like to see is a Guild Wars 2 2.0, if that makes any sense, kind of like a Cataclysm or a Realm Reborn situation. I'd love to see that have something to do with the dragons, mostly that they keep alluding to the fact that if we kill all the Elder Dragons, we will destroy Tyria, and what better way to set up some sort of rehash of Guild Wars 2, knowing what we know now, you know, ArenaNet knowing what they know now about development, about maybe pacing of content, that sort of thing. So it would be great to see a rehash of Guild Wars 2. I know it's 6 years old, but maybe a new engine, maybe just fine-tune some things. I'd really like to see the new player experience tweaked kind of a lot. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Thirdly, he asks, what is your pet peeve in Guild Wars 2 still? Like one thing that you would immediately change if you could. See, now for the longest time that would have been runes and sigils, and while I wasn't 100% excited about the changes being made because they weren't the ones I had in mind, you know how that goes, I definitely think it's a huge improvement. I mean, being able to salvage runes and sigils is just great. Now that that's taken care of, alright, so I would probably have to say that the one thing I would change is just what I said in a previous video, so sorry if that's kind of lame, but it's just that there isn't a ton of instance content. I mean, there's a fair amount, but once you've played it and played it and played it, it kind of goes away. I think ultimately one of my favorite parts about Guild Wars 1 was that the open world maps were still instanced. I know that sounds crazy, right? It's an MMO, why wouldn't you want to see 10,000 people running around? And it's because I like the game to feel somewhat realistic. I want the story to somewhat be true. And when you're the commander running around and you see a million other commanders that slayed the same dragons and did all the same cool stuff, it just doesn't feel like any of that really matters. And there was something to be said about Guild Wars 1's open world content where you would still take a small team of people through it because it was hard at times anyway. It could be hard, at least, and I just feel like because of the volume of players in Guild Wars 2, most of the content is pretty much guaranteed. You're gonna complete it as long as you have some people there, and you're probably gonna be able to get a couple of people interested. So, next up, we have Applechan, and I love that name. That's awesome. And they ask 3 questions as well. Firstly, what is the remix of Tengu Wall that you use for your intros? It sounds so nice, but I can't find it anywhere. I made that. That's something that I made in my spare time. I'm glad I've gotten so many compliments, considering when I started this channel, I had a song that I had made that was more or less, it was like 8-bit chiptune, Guild Wars 2 kind of music, and immediately I got some hate on that, so I'm glad that at least the intro is acceptable now, so. Secondly, they ask, where are you from? Well, this is the internet, so I'm not going to give you my home address, but what I will say is that I live in the States in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, so hopefully that's enough information. Thirdly, they ask, what is your favorite race and class to play? Well, as far as race is concerned, I'd have to say Asura. There's just something about the way they move around, even when they're activating their abilities. It's just, I don't know, it feels better. I always do better in jumping puzzles with Asura, and I think it's just because they're little. I don't know what it is. As far as classes go, I've always enjoyed the playstyle of Mesmer. However, lately I've been playing kind of a range of classes, so I don't know if that's about to change, but I will say that as of right now, Mesmer. Next up, we have Gray Filter Guy. What classes are you playing, and why did you pick it as your main, I presume? Well, this kind of plays into that last question, but right now I've been playing a lot of Revenant. I'm sure you guys have seen that in my videos. But I've also kind of taken an interest to Heal Necro. I really want to check out Heal Necro. I've always really wanted to play a support class in Guild Wars 2, and obviously it didn't really have roles in the beginning. But more and more I'm seeing some very promising heal specs. And as far as something easy to start off with in a game that I've really only ever played DPS, I think Heal Necro might just be the class for me. We have a second question, and it's, what do you think about classes, and are they balanced? Well, as far as what I think about the classes, I like them. I've played most of them, some way more than others, obviously. But ultimately, I think they all have a place. I think they all have unique enough play styles. The elite specializations add on to that. I would like to see not a ton more elite specializations come into the game, though. And I know not a lot of you guys probably agree with that. I just know that Guild Wars 1 had a problem balancing all the skills, and we're doing that again. I mean, you see the skill splits, you see, you know, some classes getting left behind, some just being meta all the time. It's pretty much the same. As far as do I think the classes are balanced? Go to PvP or just open your PvP UI and look at the pie chart that breaks up all the classes. Tell me if you think that it's evenly distributed across all of them. Some classes obviously shine in certain game modes, same as the stat types. Certain classes are just better. They're just better for certain game modes, and that's unfortunate because I know a lot of people just want to pick the class that they thematically like the most. They want to choose the weapons that are the most fun to use, and at the end of the day, you have to do damage in PvP, or you have to be able to do a certain amount of DPS in raids. I don't know, I just feel like everything is balanced in its own unique way, kind of, but there are definitely some classes that get left behind for years at a time, and ideally that would not happen. And thirdly, what is your honest opinion when it comes to World versus World? Okay, well, with World versus World, I don't really like it, and I don't think that it's the fairest reasoning behind why I don't really like it. I just don't like Zerg gameplay. I don't like huge groups of people smashing into each other. So for me, if it was more like PvP, right, in that there are clearly defined points that need to be held, I mean, to a degree it is, right? But players often opt to just sit in huge Zergs and smash into each other because it's epic. But it's only epic for me for like a little while, and then I'm just like, I could not be here and it wouldn't matter. Like, there's no individual contribution. It doesn't feel like it to me. So when it comes to World versus World, I would like to see, hopefully with this alliance change, there's more than just different kinds of grouping coming in. But based on the past couple years of World versus World development, I'm thinking it's probably just something different than servers, and that's probably about it. Maybe a couple little tweaks will come in with it, but I mean, alliances will probably be good for the game mode overall. I just think that for me to play it, I'm gonna need to see way more changes than that. Next up, we have T-Train, and he asks, you have one NPC to roam around the world the rest of your days. Who is it? Bonus points if it's Koss. So full disclosure, this is my roommate and good friend. He has a channel that you should check out. It's called T-Train, and he does Pokemon Let's Plays. But that's beside the point. I just figured I would say that because he could use a little love. If you guys like Pokemon, check that out. As far as an answer to the question, though, it's obviously Koss, and he knows this because we actually used to play Guild Wars 1 together back in the day. So now that Koss has returned to Guild Wars 2, shouting his own name in combat. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, Koss all the way. Next up, we have Whiterun, who asks, what are your thoughts on the seemingly limited number of stat combos that are meta? As a returning player, I was a little shocked to see everybody pretty much running Berserker or Viper with, I guess, Magi for support. It also made me feel like 90% of the items in the game are considered useless since they aren't meta. Alright, so as far as the meta is concerned, it's important to realize that the meta just means fastest clears. That's pretty much it. Just fastest clears. It doesn't mean you can't play these other stat types. Now, there are certain mechanics, especially in raids, that'll come into effect. Like, you don't want to stack a bunch of toughness and go into raids, especially if you have a Mesmer tanking or someone tanking, as some of the bosses do determine aggro or threat or whatever you want to call it based on the character's toughness. So there are limitations there, but as far as the open world is concerned, I mean, you can basically play whatever you want, and that's the vast majority of the content in Guild Wars 2. Now, I do agree that there are a lot of stat types that just don't see a lot of use, and unfortunately, that's just the result of a video game community saying, hey, this is what's best, this is where you'll have the most success, the best experience, the fastest clears, and for the most part, people just go with whatever other people tell them to do. So right now, I do feel like, yeah, most people probably play power or condition, or they heal. And if that's the game that it's going to be, if that's what the players decide to do, then maybe the game should adapt in a way that allows some more stat types to be relevant, or they should just own up to the fact that it's really only power, condition, and healing, and limit the number of stats in the game. Take out these irrelevant stats that have very niche places in the game. Just allow it to make more sense from a new player perspective. Obviously, that's where a lot of my perspective comes from, because that's what I aim to do. I try to help you guys learn how to play the game or get into the game. Next up, we have Ask Ada, and she asks, when you're playing Guild Wars 2, do you listen to music, or do you have a playlist that you listen to, and what might that be? Well, it varies night to night, honestly. A lot of times I'll play with some YouTube videos playing in the background, and I can tell you guys what kind of YouTube videos I watch if that's something that you're curious about. I like Game Grumps. I do watch some PewDiePie. He's real. Some people don't like that guy. Sorry. I watch him from time to time. I like H3H3. Again, some people don't like him either. I like him. So I watch that. But I guess probably you're more interested in music. So I'll try to give an answer for that as well. Truthfully, when it comes to music, a lot of the time I'll just listen to whatever my current jam is. So sometimes I'll listen to Queens of the Stone Age. Sometimes I'll listen to a band called Between the Buried and Me if I'm playing some heavy combat kinds of gameplay, and I just want some crazy metal to get me amped. But a lot of times I'll just listen to like some basic lo-fi, just something to have in the background. I do pretty much turn the Guild Wars 2 music off unless it's a brand new Living World patch or I'm doing content for the first time. But yeah, that's basically what I do. It's more often than not, it's going to be a YouTube video, but from time to time, I do just kind of chill and listen to some relaxing music or some death metal, depending on what I'm playing. And finally, we have Purple Boy, who asks, what are your favorite weapons for each class and how does it play? Elite specializations also count. This is a big question, so I'll leave it at that. You are not kidding. That is a huge question. Now, I would love to sit here and answer that for you, but that's basically a video you're asking for. If you're curious about what to play on a particular class, or maybe you actually just want to know what I think is most fun, maybe in the future I'll make a video like that, but that's a lot of information to put into this Q&A. But what I will say is that I do really enjoy the Greatsword on the Guardian. I really like the Spin to Win and the 5 where you pull everything in with the spectral chains kind of thing. You know, just bring them in and burst them down. As for Necro, I do like the Greatsword. Again, I do like the Gravedigger spam because there's a little thinking that goes into it, at least at times. I know it could probably be a little more high IQ ability, but it's definitely fun when you see a good window to just kind of spam on someone, do crazy damage. And by far, probably one of my absolute favorite weapons to play on anything is Staff on Daredevil. just the mobility and the kind of trolly nature of the staff is really fun. I mostly in PvP, but even in the open world, it's pretty fun. But yeah, that's basically what I'll give you here. If you guys out there want a full detailed class breakdown, I could do that. Again, I'm not Mr. Builds over here, so I'm not sure if that's gonna even go over very well. That's the reason I never really make videos like that. That being said, if you guys do want a class breakdown or something like that, I would be open to that. So if this question was more in hopes of maybe getting a better understanding of what to play on the different classes, or you were just trying to find some fun weapons to play with, I could make a video like that for sure, if that's something you guys are interested in. I just don't want to make this entire video about classes and skills and all that, so. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all the questions I had on the more recent Q&A. Wasn't as many people this time around, so I'm not sure if people are really interested in this, which is fine. Obviously, I just do this as kind of hooray, I did it, I made it to a new milestone, so I figure I'd give you guys the option to ask me anything you want, because I'm a pretty open book. I thought I would do the webcam this time because I will be streaming here in about a couple of weeks. I think I'll have everything set up. And I just felt like maybe it won't be as jarring to see me for the first time for the most part. I mean, I've definitely posted some videos with some face cam stuff before, but yeah, I just wanted you to see the crazy neck beard that I've been, you know, kind of cultivating here. I do wear gauges. I don't know if people care about that sort of thing. I'm really pasty white, and I play video games in my house all the time and don't go outside, so you could see that. Also, for anybody who cares, who might be attending the stream, because this will no doubt happen, I vape, you guys. Now, I don't vape because it's so cool, right? I used to be a smoker, actually, so this has been helping me for years now to not smoke. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to kick that just yet. Maybe down the road. But yeah, if you attend the streams, you might catch that from time to time. It might be a little weird. To any of you guys who are hoping that one day I will play raids and start to talk about that on this channel at all, I am considering a transfer to EU currently. I don't know if that'll actually happen. Might make playing with me during the streams, depending on where you're actually located in the world, a little difficult, but based on the fact that I get home around 11:30 at night, and that's when I play is night. I think reset in EU is right around when I get home, so it might just make more sense to do that. But anyway, guys, yeah, I hope this wasn't super jarring seeing my face for once. It's been fun trying to set all this up and figure it out, and this is more or less what you'll probably be seeing in the streams as well, so hopefully that'll be good. I do have an extra light coming in for behind me, so it won't be so like pixelated, weird, empty space in the background. I'm hoping, but for now, I think this works well enough. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I don't know what that was.
Screenshots.